What is up guys, Andy Forrestine Runner here, back with another video for you today, and today we are going to be diving straight into the Newport Marathon 2019 race recap. The good, the bad and the very, very ugly. It has been a strange couple of days since I've run the marathon, but I've got a lot to share with you. I want to dive in. Two things before we jump into today's video. Number one, I'm going to be recording a second video, which isn't specifically about the Newport Marathon race recap, but I'm going to be covering other bits and pieces that I'm not covering today. Today, I just want to isolate the race and how the race went, but I have so many other emotions around the race itself that I want to talk about, and I'm going to be doing that over the next couple of days and thanking some specific people that have given up their time over the last couple of days to talk to me, and do a bit of name dropping and things like that. I want to separate that, and I'm going to be doing that in a video probably titled What's Next, because I've obviously got some plans coming up for the summer. So that's number one. And number two, a monster thank you. I say this every time, but you guys have been so supportive. All your comments on YouTube, all your comments on Strava, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, blown me away. I can say, hand on my heart, my heart is that side, yeah, hand on my heart, it happens every time, but your support blows me away, so I can't thank you enough. I want to dive into this, I don't want to keep you too long, so let's start off with the race morning. Okay, race morning. So we've got this down to a T now. 5:45 the alarm went off, jumped straight out of bed, went downstairs and ate my breakfast, which was a bowl of porridge, an electrolyte drink, SIS electrolyte drink with calories in it, and a banana. That was all finished and wrapped up by 6 o'clock. So I had 3 hours then before the marathon started, which is an ideal time for me because I cannot eat. For a lot of you know, I do have a bit of a sensitive stomach. I cannot eat too close to the race. So that felt great, had no stomach issues, did not need any emergency bathroom trips leading up to the race. It was all smooth and plain sailing. So from that aspect, it went well. We rocked up there in the morning, nice and sunny, felt nice and cool as we were starting, but ultimately as the gun went off, we realised that it was warming up rather quickly. And it wasn't boiling, it wasn't like a summer's day or anything, but it was warmer than expected, I'm not going to lie. And that went at about mile 11, the clouds came over and covered it, so that was good. But mile 11, I think by that point the damage had been done. Anyway, so the morning obviously leading up to the race was fantastic. The organisation, the whole area, there was a good buzz. It was a fantastic race. I've got nothing bad to say about the race. It was absolutely brilliant and I would highly recommend it. So obviously we rock up to the start line. Parking, no issues whatsoever, rocked up in parking, multi-storey car park, parked on the first level. It wasn't even busy. So that was great. No stresses, no worries, bag drop off easy, toilets easy, job done. Gun went off at 9 o'clock and so we trot away. Now, I'm thinking at this point, obviously Gloucester ran around a 247, 248 pace, I think it was, which is obviously well below sub 6:29. And you have to remember during this series, after we ran Gloucester, myself and Doug had a conversation, my coach, and we agreed that it might be sensible to adjust my marathon pacing to run a sub 250. So I have been training the last few weeks at around sub 250 pace, which is sub 6:29 pace and below. All have been going swimmingly with that, so that's what I had in my mind. So we went off and I thought I'm going to be conservative, I'm going to start sensibly and start well, and I clocked to 6:33 and I thought fantastic, I'm over pace, that's exactly what I want to do. In that first mile though, there is a little bridge that you have to go up and over and out onto hit the country lanes on, and obviously what comes up must go down, and when I hit the second mile it shocked me a little bit, I'm not gonna lie. I ran a 6:11. I thought bloody hell, that's a bit quick, but I thought, no, it's all right, it's just a bridge, so just chill out. And after that, we got into a sensible routine. The next 3 miles, I was clocking off very much sub 250 pace. It was like 6:24, 6:26, 6:28, somewhere around there. Felt fantastic. From there, I then settled into the 6:30s, and that's where it stayed for a long period of time. I kind of found my groove, found my rhythm. But what I found out very quickly, and I predicted this, and I said this in one of my earlier videos, and I said it to all my friends around me, is that there was a group in front that was chasing the 2:45 championship time for London, and of course there was a group behind me, the 3-hour pacer, and in between there was just a lot of stragglers. There was no groups for me to run with, and in terms of the course, it was a fantastic course, but it very much was clear open lanes, as you saw by the first bit of footage. That's basically the rate. That it was all, but I'd probably say 21 miles were like that on those lanes until you got back towards the city of Newport. It was very much out in the open, out in the sticks. Absolutely though, pan flat, bar one lump around mile 8.5-ish, just pure flat. Absolutely incredible for a PB course. Like, you could not, I'm sure you couldn't get flatter. It was brilliant. So I thought to myself, okay, I just need to kind of get into the mental mindset and be comfortable and feel good and just kind of click away at these miles. Not look at the watch will do its own thing. I've said a million times before, if I run with a smile on my face and be happy and enjoy what I'm doing and enjoy the process, enjoy the hard work, the miles will come. And that's exactly what happened. It felt fantastic. The miles were ticking off. And every aid station, I was grabbing a bottle, having a sip, pouring it over my head and just keeping hydrated. And for once, I hydrated really well. I seem to have got the balance perfectly. Gel strategy was every 40 minutes. That was the plan. Again, it was the same at Gloucester, although at Gloucester I only ended up having 2 gels, to be honest with you. I had one at 40 minutes, one at 1 hour 20. This time I had it at 40 minutes, 1 hour 20 and 2 hours before things collapsed later in the race. So I was sticking to the plan and I knew what I was doing, so I thought. As the miles progressed, as I said, I was settling into the 6:35 to 6:38 rhythm, and there was a point in the race, maybe I think around mile 8 or 9, where I thought, am I slowing already? Like, is this a sign? I thought, no, don't be stupid. Like, you probably just, you found your rhythm. You've maybe gone off a little bit too fast. Maybe sub 250 pace was a bit of a stretch, but you know, you found where you're at. 6:35 to 6:40 felt really comfortable, and I thought, brilliant. I'm just going to sit here, just click into gear and sit here. Went through the halfway point at 1:26:02 or 1:26:10 around there, and thought, perfect. That's a 2:52. Like, stick with it. And at that point, I felt great. Had a gel just before it at 12 miles, obviously, so I had a bit of a rush. Was feeling good. Then I carried on, mile 14, mile 15, and on one of those miles, I can't remember which one, I clocked to 6:43, and it was still pan flat. And I thought, oh, I've eased off 5 seconds a mile here. I wasn't clock watching. I was making a point of not to look at my watch. I tell everyone, stop looking at the watch, don't be a slave to the watch. But I was checking, every time it bleeped at me there was a mile, I was just checking it, because I don't want to be looking at it, panicking, thinking I'm on pace, I'm not on pace. And I thought to myself at the time, that's odd. I've not let up the effort. I've not let up the pace. I've declined here. So I thought, okay, I'll continue. Got back down into the 6:30s for the next mile. I thought, okay, maybe it was just a blip. And I thought there was a water station there. I'd slow down to grab a water. That's all it was. So yeah, push through that 15, 16 mile barrier. And then mile 17 hit. And I dramatically slowed. And I thought to myself, this is really bizarre. I'm now starting to feel like I don't have a lot of energy. Like, I don't feel like my body has a lot in it to move. My legs were feeling fantastic. They weren't feeling beaten up. My posture was good at the time. My form was good. I was doing all those checks thinking, you know, am I running smoothly? Am I running good? I was keeping my arms low. I was keeping relaxed. I was feeling relatively okay. So I was puzzled, I was baffled, and I thought to myself at that moment in time, at mile 17, I thought to myself, game over. Whatever's happening is unexplainable. I don't know why it's happening, but it's happening, and I just have to roll with it. And I can assure you that the next 4.5 miles until it was about 21.7, I think it was, when I took my first walking break, those 4 to 5 miles were potentially the toughest miles that I have ever run. I mean, I've run some marathons and I've really struggled, and I could probably say that maybe those marathons were tougher, I don't know. But at that moment in time, I would have in the past just given up and walked. And I thought, no, you're not going to give up and walk at this point. You're not doing, this isn't going to happen. You're going to work hard. You're going to get your mind into gear, and you're just going to click through the miles. You're going to take one off at a time. It's now not about racing the clock. It's about racing the distance. So at that point, mile 17, my mindset changed. Time was out the window. I think I can relate to everyone when I say this, but we get to a point in a marathon where if it's not going well, all arbitrary time goals and everything, you just say, do you know what? Bugger off, I'm not interested now. Now it's a race between me and that finish line, and I'm going to get there. And that was all that was on my mind. And I'm not going to lie, I wanted to quit so badly at so many points. It was so demoralising. And the problem is, naturally, people start coming past you. You all right, mate? You good? I'm like, yeah, I'm great. Dandy. No energy, but hey. So anyway, I plugged away and was getting through, and the crowds are fantastic. There was quite some open stretches with no support, but when you got to certain areas, there was some big support, some big bands out there playing, and it was fantastic. Obviously, our names were on the bib, so I felt really good. Got to mile 21 and a half and started walking, had a drink. And from that point, it was just a case of, right, survival of the fittest, I'm going to walk in. At that point, no injuries had flared up. At that point, I felt okay. From there, I took each step by step. I only walked for 0.1 of a mile, and then I ran for another mile and a half. So again, I was really pleased with that. I actually got to mile 23, I think it was, before needing to properly walk again. And then I got to mile 24, and at mile 24-ish, around that point, 24 and a half, that's when I pretty much had to walk. You'll see by my splits, that's when I pretty much had to walk it in. And actually, at mile 24, I remember, you know, when your form goes, when you're so tired and you've got nothing and you're just slugging along. I remember putting my foot on a bit of an uneven ground, and that's when my glute flared up. The impact of me hitting the ground flared up my glute injury that I'd had. I was so grateful that none of the injuries had flared up, but it was at that point where it did, and that is not due to sort of the injury just coming back. That was me just being careless, and just bam, you know. And then from that point, I walked in, and at mile 25, when I hit that bridge and I heard Lee shouting, God, it was just the best thing ever, because I was like, oh, friendly face, and bloody hell, he filmed me, as you saw in the video, and then he just chucked his phone in his pocket and he ran with me, and bless him, what a legend. I just, that really helped. I can't explain to you. And I ran more in that time from there to the end than I had in the last 2 miles. So I ran in with Lee, and then at that point, as I got down the bottom of the bridge, bam, my left quad went into cramp, like really bad, knotting up. I was like, this is so painful. And at the point, all I was thinking was, I'm so grateful this didn't happen so much earlier in the race like it has before. But it did, and it happened then, and that's fine. And then, of course, we came up close to the finish line. Corey was there. Corey joined in, and bless them, what absolute superstars running in with me. At the time, it was hard to appreciate, but when I look back on it, I welled up a bit, because I thought we all started this marathon journey together, and this is really fitting that we all finished it together. And they helped me across the finish line. And as I said, I came across the 3:14:35, a race that ultimately was fantastic. I know reasons why. I want to talk about that in a second, but really, as a whole, there's a lot that I can take away from it that's positive. But yeah, let's dive into what I think went wrong. Okay, so what went wrong? I know I just said what I think went wrong. Just to clarify, this isn't what I think went wrong, but this is what I've been told, and I'm starting to understand and process and can see reason and ration with. Doug put a very good post together for me on Training Peaks. Bless him, what a legend. He just put it all out there and said, right, this happened. I think this is your weak spot. This is what we need to work on. As far as everything pacing-wise goes, it went really well. Had a good average heart rate for the beginning, but he said this is a classic case of hitting the wall. No, I didn't go into that point where I was staggering around and look, you know, like you see some of these people just collapse and pass out. But I was at a point where I had nothing. And obviously when you hit the wall, you have lots of dark thoughts, lots of negativity, and that's exactly what I had for that period in time until I came back out the other side. So in that respect, I think that is exactly what has happened. The second thing that point to note, and this is what a few people have told me, and I'm going to talk about this in the second video, okay? Because I want to give some shout outs to certain people who have been extremely helpful. But certain people have messaged me and said, mate, your heart rate is way too high. Like, you're going to be burning your fuel way too quickly. Like, our bodies naturally have enough fuel for 20 miles. So then we're relying on external sources to fuel ourselves for the last 26.2. Well, if I'm running that close to my threshold, which my heart rate was a lot higher this time than it was compared to the Gloucester 20. If I'm running that close to my threshold, then my body is gonna burn up fuel a lot quicker, and therefore going to need a lot more fuel, and hence why my fueling strategy this time that worked at Gloucester didn't work here. Now, it worked at Gloucester, as I said, because my body has enough fuel to deal with that, and the extra fuel I'm putting in is just helping. But when you get to those points where you're past the 20 miles and you need to externally fuel, as I said, if I'm burning it faster than I can put it in, I'm not going to get enough fuel on board to see me through and finish strong in a race. And ultimately, that looks to be the killer here. That could have been the heat. That could have been the fact that I was fighting off a kid's cold all last week, because that cold has now come out in me. Literally yesterday, I was fighting it off so bad. Maybe I was harbouring it, whatever it was. And there's no excuses. It is what it is at the end of the day. I had my heart rate monitor on. I was checking my heart rate. It seemed to be in the late 160s, whereas Gloucester, it was more in the early to mid 160s. And yesterday, at certain points, I noticed I was creeping into the 170s. And bearing in mind my threshold's at 174, if I'm running that close to my threshold, I am going to be burning a lot of fuel very, very quickly. So I would have needed to have been chucking it to sustain that, which would have been difficult to sustain that. I would have been needing to have chucked in a heck of a lot more fuel than I have been. So ultimately, I think, guys, that's what's gone wrong. A lot of people I've spoken to have very kindly given up their time to provide me with feedback, as well as my coach, and I can't thank the community, the running community, enough. I think when things like this happen, I think we can all feel very despondent. We can all feel a little bit of despair. But actually, I've come out the other side of this feeling pretty okay. Like, I'm not too bummed out about it, and the support from you guys and support from people I've been getting elsewhere has enabled me to bounce back from this and just go, do you know what? It was what it was. It happened. We have to move on. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is pretty much the story. Okay, so that's a wrap. If you're still here at this point, blimey, you're legends. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening. I hope it all makes sense. I've had to just kind of go hurrah and just, let you guys know everything. I think social media is one of those things where if you are big enough and ugly enough to put yourself out there on camera like I am, you have to be transparent and honest. You have to roll with the punches. We all know as runners, we have good days and bad days. There's no runner that has ever had perfect races from start to finish in their career. They will have always had at some point something bad. And I would be doing you guys and myself a disservice if I was to sit here and lie about it. So your support means the world to me. I need to share this with you. It's what I learn, hopefully you learn, and it might help you to not do the same thing as me. But hey, do you know what? Your support has allowed me to bounce back from this so quickly that I am feeling buzzing and ready. I'm just taking this week now to mentally check out, chill out, enjoy myself, and get excited, get pumped to get back on those trails again, because that ultimately is what I want to do. Too much industrial estate recently and not enough hills and trails, so I'm going to be smashing those as of next week, so I cannot wait. So thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, guys, please do give it a like. It really does help this channel. Please share it with your friends, and do consider subscribing for weekly running content, and I will see you in a couple of days for another video about what's next and talking specifically about some of those incredible people that have helped me along this journey. Until then,